Daylight savings time. It actually makes no sense, but people have trouble. Governments have trouble. Regulators have trouble simply getting rid of it. You could see it having maybe some significance in the pre-digital, non-global age. But at this point, it's patently absurd, and we should all be done with it already. It created particular havoc for me. I'm working with a client in Europe, and for about a week, things were out of sync throughout the United Kingdom. They flipped from British summertime to Greenwich time last week, but we didn't flip until today, Sunday, November 2nd, and Google didn't even pick it up. So I was scrambling to schedule, which is not in my top 5 strength finder results. It was a huge pain in the butt. So this reminds me of 3 things, actually. Number 1, as I was mentioning, get rid of daylight saving times. Just be done with it throughout the world. It's rough enough we've got different time zones, but it would be kind of awkward if it's noon in your city and dark. Anyway, that's number 1. Get rid of daylight savings time. Number 2, this AI revolution. Trillions of dollars are flying all over the place. Can we just get AI to help us schedule meetings? I'm sure you've been on calls where the last 10, 15 minutes, sometimes of a half hour business call, is spent trying to figure out when you could have the next meeting based on everyone's constantly changing schedules. So let's just get an AI bot. Hello, Sam Altman, Elon, the rest of you over at Anthropic. Just get us a plugin that can help us schedule meetings. Let's just start there. And my third point is this daylight saving time today, setting our clocks back, remind me of my high school years. And I'd like to share a story and relate it to the high school years of my own son. Generation to generation, apples not falling far from trees, even if they're a little rotten, a little worm-ridden. That's what makes these kind of stories spicy and so memorable. Hello and welcome to No Hair, All Heart podcast. I am your no hair, very bald host, Mookie Spitz, and I want to talk about a very heartfelt story involving my own naive adolescence and my own son's adventures during these tumultuous times that we all experience our teenage years. This story is called Cockblocked by Jesus. My first girlfriend saved me. I was a depressed high school sophomore and almost didn't make it through that ice-cold Chicago winter. Spring finally springing, warmth returning, and flowers blossoming. So did my mood, which was further boosted by Debbie. She introduced me to a whole new world of agony and ecstasy, giving me a chance to start all over again. A classmate had a crush on me, but sensed I wasn't that into her. With plenty of other boys to spare, supply outpacing demand, she didn't take it personally and instead hooked me up with her best friend. Debbie was precocious for a 15-year-old, already dating and seemingly far ahead of the curve, emotionally and biologically turning me on. I was totally clueless. She was too busy talking to notice my initial confusion and distress. Somehow I got in a word or two, enough for her to keep me around, although she probably just thought I was cute. We spent school day afternoons at her house in the suburbs, where I met her dorky younger brother and jappy older sister. They were too distracted to dislike me. Meet the parents was new to me, a skill set that I mastered with surprising ease. Debbie's mom was a teacher, fastidious but friendly. Within weeks, I met her dad, a doctor, the shortest one in their vertically challenged family. Variations of a theme, they reminded me of Santa's elves, rippling with manic energy, always chattering and busy, their true purpose forever mysterious. Debbie's bedroom was cozy and dark. She had a small bed we sat on together next to a cheap stereo with tinny speakers. Our routine was simple and consistent, yet for me chaotic and terrifying. A record went on the turntable, usually Billy Joel or Rush, and we'd make out. Kissing I could handle at first, but touching rapidly escalated to DEFCON 1. Her body was soft and round, her smell exotic and enticing. The instant our bodies connected, I rose to attention and had things pretty much under control until she touched me. A long-nailed fingertip brushing against my thigh was all it took. Boom! Next thing I knew, I felt the explosion in my head. The seething convulsions in my body, the warm dampness in my jeans. Within seconds, I went from the pinnacle of arousal to the depths of shame. The whiplash was often so disorienting, disconcerting, and disappointing that I almost fell off her bed. After I came without warning or recourse, I'd look into her eyes, panic-stricken that she knew. Only once, after months of rinse and repeat, did she gaze at me quizzically after recoiling from the wet spot. As it turned out, her naivete and fear of sex were at least on par with mine. The good news was my fumbling ineptitude gave me cover. The bad news was that it prevented me from learning anything. She expected me to make the first moves, but I was finished before I could even get started. At some point, I remember taking off her bra, but I must have lost consciousness. Despite my defeat in the sack, I made myself at home. Shooting in my pants was still considered getting off, far as my body was concerned, so while she waited for me to recharge, I would shamble to her kitchen for a snack. Fresh from failure to lunch, my weird mood encouraged me to try and surprisingly then enjoy yogurt and olives, even though I hated them. A milestone moment. Being caught within this endless loop of infantile groping, premature ejaculation, and experimental noshing seemed sustainable and kind of fun until a few months later when she dumped me for Phil, a good friend of mine. Decades later, Phil told me he never had protective sex with Debbie either. A huge relief. Eventually, I got it all figured out, but by then, it was way too late. When my younger son, Nicky, began suffering from preteen migraine headaches as I did, I assumed he'd also get over them when he entered adolescence, and sure enough, he did. After all, while his older brother was always finicky about food like his mother, Nick was born with my belly too, and similarly chowed down on cheeseburgers from age 3. Our congenital commonality and relatability also extended into high school depression. Nick enduring a savage attack around the same time it hit me, in his case exacerbated by the pandemic lockdowns. Predictably, he also got over his blues in lockstep with my development cycle. his mood analogously boosted with the woe and mischief of a first girlfriend. Darla even looked like Debbie, short, dark haired, adorable, and energetic. That's where the similarities stopped, especially regarding Nick's inchoate love life, which was and is, of course, none of my business. Suffice to say that this teen relationship taught my shy, self conscious adolescent how to talk and listen to girls, enhancing his confidence in leaps and bounds. Nikki and Darla's world was different from mine and Debbie's. Smartphones transformed the dynamics of growing up, exponentially increasing bullying, accidents, insomnia, and eating disorders, leading to unprecedented levels of alienation, stress, anxiety, drug abuse, and suicides. Another casualty was dating, especially in high school. So when Nick mentioned he'd met a girl at camp that summer, I was thrilled. His entire experience as a junior counselor was terrific. Young people running around outside, playing various team sports, spending time together and talking to each other. No phones allowed during the day. TikTok and Instagram do damage, and the camp wisely shut them down. After camp ended, senior year of high school beginning, they started dating. Within a few weeks, they were officially girlfriend and boyfriend. Nick invited to dinner with Darla's family at least a couple nights a week at their apartment. Not intending to pry, I asked the basics. Darla's dad seemed pretty chill, while her mom was more high strung and religious. "You're never going to go all the way, my dude," was my response. Frank conversations, part of our dynamic. Talking about sex didn't make him feel uncomfortable, but my opinion triggered him. "How do you even know that?" he snapped. "Trust me," I elaborated. "If her mom is as you described, then Darla has been conditioned since birth to save herself until marriage." "It's 2023, he said, the obvious, not so obvious. In addition to nonstop texting, meme sharing, cyberbullying, fake prestige boosting, video game and reel streaming, limitless access to porn has distorted perceptions around sex, especially for teenage boys. There's no way anybody thinks like that anymore," Nick continued, "especially not in New York City." Far as I could tell, and confirmed by Darla and her parents, Nick was a scholar and a gentleman, always respectful. Whenever she visited, he'd go out and meet her at the bus stop, and whenever they had him over, he was gracious and well behaved. That all said, he was a teenager oozing with testosterone, and after about 6 months, things reached a tipping point. "Darla and I broke up," Nikki told me. "What happened?" I asked, feigning surprise. Our parallel lives made me think about the lessons of youth, learned in endless ways again and again. "I got cockblocked by Jesus," he sighed. "How do you know?" What's worse, I thought, God denying you the goods or having them offered on a silver platter and then blowing it? Amen, I smiled. This story still brings a smile to my face. Times have, of course, changed, further fueled by all the tech, but the essential humanity behind it all remains the same and forever unchanging. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, share. More stories of the heart coming from this no hair guy and others I love to talk to in the work.